Go.
And we're gonna open up the October 1st, 2019 Sewer and Water Commissioners meeting, and it's at 7:15. President is Bob Josie, Colin here, and Bob Sullivan. Okay? All right, we're gonna get the systems manager report on water and the sewer.
So to finalize the Ogden EMS personnel, it's found at Orange Street near the Bourneville line for a female 30 who was swept out before it with an arm injury. Proceeding to finalize the
They
Ogden
kind of
EMS
changed the
personnel
format on me on our water report, so
female 30 who was swept out before it with an arm injury.
being on the first of the month, obviously I didn't have time to go through and get all this stuff done. So I'm not sure how you want to do that. I don't want to sit here and read through line item by line item. Let's see.
Okay, so let's read through, see if we have any questions or anything.
We don't have a sewer one.
Yeah, you should be on
Per
it.
box 64 deep. Census
I don't see one for sewer.
Right here.
Did Steve do this report?
I think Steve sat down with Lee. And Lee typed it up. That's really like these.
It looks like there's enough for us to report on the water part of it. You wanna go
It's a
line
lot
item
of,
or?
it's a lot of daily stuff that doesn't really.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Need
Just
to go
looks
on
like that.
and report, but I'll try to square away the format on that for next month.
We got Prescott working on these census meetings now? Are they well?
The census stuff should be all set, so they came here, went through everything. Suppose we got everything squared away, we did the whole billing with the,
It was this billing cycle that you did? Oh, okay. So that's all set.
they claimed everything was fine. So we just went through and said everything was, they got census on the phone while they were here, or census and Munis on the phone at the same time. Census was here, we got Munis on the phone. And they each went through each of their line items.
So we're squared away, finally. We hope.
We still had a couple issues during billing. I mean, they have a high-low report, so if there's any like high readings, it flags them. Any low readings, outside of a normal. I forget what the percentage is. If it was off by like 25% or something like that. But one person got a $106,000 bill, so I guess the
Well,
high-low
that's good for us.
high-low report didn't work so well.
Bet you that got their attention.
Yeah, it was just so we had a couple. There was 2 or 3 that we still missed on really high or really low. So,
I'm just reading September's as well.
You have any questions on the water report?
I'm finishing up September's. I just read out August. So I'm just reading September's. A lot of final reads, huh?
yeah.
Oh, and another one.
Yeah, I just read that.
Why was that difficult to install on West Street?
Everything about that was difficult.
Hmm?
Everything about it was difficult.
Oh,
The,
the way it went in?
well, it was an AC pipe, so we can't locate it. So we dug down. We did the lot right
The
up
water
above.
line?
Yeah. Which one are you talking about?
No, it says meter installed 50 West Street.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, the water line was difficult to install. The meter was difficult. That was one that the customer wanted. First, they wanted us to run the water line inside the house, up through the rafters, over into a different room before we put the meter.
No.
So I'm like, no, we don't do that. You want in that room, dig around the back of the house and come in that room.
Came around the back of the house?
No, he didn't want to do that because he already put the porch on. So we said, well, the meter's going in right where it comes through the wall. So then they'd already framed in the walls inside, so he had to cut out a section inside, and he wanted it so it stayed within the wall because that's a hallway, and he didn't want to impede in his hallway. So the whole thing was just a nightmare.
Did you put a 2x6 wall?
I'm going through a water line, I don't know.
I can't remember. I just know when I went there and looked at it, I can't remember. I think it was 2x6.
Unless he held it off an inch or so off the wall.
Well, that's what he said. He's like, it's an inch. I'm like, I
Finger
can't
inch?
fit my
Yeah,
finger
it's
through
not
there,
an
so
inch.
it's not an inch. But
Yeah, you can make them fit if they hold them off an inch and
Right.
they do a 90 coming in. It just stays in.
and that's what we did. We
Yeah.
pulled it as tight as we could to the wall.
Other than
and
that, you
everything.
get 2x6. If he holds the walls tight,
Yeah.
they don't fit.
No, he did come off the wall a little, but it wasn't an inch.
Yeah.
So I told him, you got to have an access panel anyway,
Yeah.
so just build a little thing coming off.
Yeah.
I mean, he still had plenty of room in the hallway.
Yeah.
It was right near where the door was, so it wasn't like it was impeding it.
Just build it out a little bit and make it look like it's part of the access door. That's all.
Right.
I don't want to.
I've done those before.
What is this?
Yeah.
That shouldn't be in there.
Well, that's what he did. So, yeah, one of the samples we have.
What is it? Which one? August or September?
September. Top middle of the page.
That should be taken out of there.
Yeah, he did. I don't know.
I didn't catch that the first round. Yeah, funny.
I saw it. Yeah.
Any questions on our estimate?
Well, just part of this since it was just finishing up and it was actually yesterday that happened. On the water side, they're doing the Sleepy Hollow development up there. So we came off the end of the line at Davis, extended down, I want to say like 120 feet, then put a three-way T with valves, and then went 8-inch going in so that it's going to be an 8-inch coming and looping back around.
That's gonna loop over to here.
Yeah, so we'll loop over to Northeast Maine.
What's going on there? They're just doing that to get it off the road now, or is that gonna continue on?
It's gonna go all the way through, but right now they're just trying to get to the dry season so that they can cross that stream,
Yeah.
brook or whatever it is that's
Yeah.
in there. Through Concom's requirements. So they're just trying to get that part done now. Now it's gonna be the drier time that you typically try to get through. So that's what they're trying to do is get beyond that point. And I'm not sure how long it's gonna take before they finish the rest, but they're doing that section. So we did the pressure test yesterday, and it blew one of the joints apart. So the problem was, the installation was good. I watched them do all that, but when they did their test, they put an end cap with a service line coming off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So because they had the service line coming off the end cap, you couldn't put a big thrust block there. So they backfilled the whole thing, but you know they had loose dirt, which is the reason you use thrust blocks. So the thrust block, you know, with no thrust block, that the last section of pipe
Blew off.
blew off. So they fixed that yesterday. They used the gripper type gaskets, and you'd never get those apart. So
Yeah. Now, is this a new company we're having doing these?
that's not us. That's Pine or whoever's
They're paying, oh,
project that is. They're contracted with them to do that. But I still witness all the pressure tests,
yeah.
the chlorination and bacteria tests. So they fixed the problem yesterday. Changed how they had the end and put a thrust block in. Then we reran the pressure test today and it passed. So we're chlorinating overnight, probably 2 days. And Thursday morning they'll come back, flush it out, and take a sample.
2 days of pouring it?
And it's usually 24 hours,
Yeah.
but because we didn't finish until right a little after 3:30 today, they figured they'll just wait till Thursday morning, so you get the full 24 hours. But no, they do good work, so I'm impressed with that company. So,
Good.
so yeah, so that was done. Like I said, I don't know when they're gonna try to run around and complete that loop, but I'm assuming they'll want to get lots in there and start building before long. So
I'm sure.
So that was part of the water report. So since I did, half of it transpired yesterday. So
I went by there today.
I guess up
Today or yesterday? What, did you say you went there today?
I was up there today.
Yeah,
Too.
I
I saw you
drove
go
by,
by.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, was it yesterday or today? Yeah, yeah, let's come back.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw you go by. It's just that it takes like 3 hours to do a pressure test. So
What?
it takes like 3 hours to do a pressure test. So
Oh, yeah.
it's just time consuming. All right, so sewer reports. I just
Anybody else out on the water side?
Yeah.
Any questions, Tom?
No, I'm good.
handed you those. So August, we had 6.37 inches of rain. Center Grove hauled off 121,700 gallons of sludge. We had 3.8 million gallons of flow for an average of 122,000 a day. Wasted 93,940 gallons for an average of 3,031 gallons per day. Used 787 gallons of alum, 264 gallons of sodium hydroxide, 286 kilowatt hours of electricity, and the river average was 11.114. So we were below for August and September. The EPA DMRQA study 39 ended. It passed the third quarter toxicity testing. The digester decant return line was repaired, and the sodium hydroxide tank is in the process of being cleaned out. The staff river gauge was cleared off. I'm sure you guys saw the bill for the digester decant return line.
Yeah.
So that was an unanticipated cost. So I did put an article for the town meeting. I ended up going 60,000 just to be on the safe side with all the other stuff that we're trying to get done. Just because in the long run, whatever we don't spend goes back into retained earnings anyway. So I'd rather not go back in May and ask for more. So I prefer to just make sure it's covered for this period. Any questions on August? So September, we only had 3.07 inches of rain. Center Grove hauled out 95,700 gallons. The flow was 4.062 million gallons for an average of 135,000 a day. Waste of 76,720 for an average of 2,558 gallons per day. 734 gallons of aluminum or alum. the sodium hydroxide, he used what was in the tank that he's cleaning out. The electricity was 275 kilowatt hours, and the river gauge, we had 9.625 CFS.
We're not done using this stuff.
No, we gotta fix the fitting on the bottom of the tank,
Oh,
the pipe fitting that comes through. The gasket was leaking on that, so
no idea, drain it down.
wait till we get the tank empty to take care of that problem.
Okay.
The diesel tank for the generator was topped off in preparation for the hurricane season, preparing for the fourth quarter toxicity. Waste the toxicity and sludge analysis. The plant invert was refurbished to create a more uniform flow to the treatment process. 3 manholes have the base, chimney, and frame rebuilt. Located at one on Main at Franklin, the one on Depot near Cottage, and the one on Gleason near the abandoned elementary school.
Oh, that's why I heard that company was good.
Hmm?
Steve was saying that's the company that
Oh yeah, they
did a
do.
nice job.
Yeah, they do decent on the manholes.
Okay, that's what it was. He was talking about the manholes, yeah.
Yeah, it was the same company they did the 3 over on Gilboa last year.
The generator, is that, do you get that service annually?
Twice a year.
Oh, twice a year,
We
okay.
do a minor and a major service. There's an issue with the. You talking about the one at Primary?
Well, we got this one out here.
No. Well, what were you reading it?
I was just reading when they were talking about generator, I was thinking all the diesel tank, the generator was talking
All the
about.
generators are maintained twice a year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering what that was, we do that before the winter season?
We do it right before the winter season. That's when we typically want to make sure everything's right. So that's what we time that for. And they do it in the spring too. So. Any other questions on the sewer reports?
Next thing is the policies report.
Policies, so this one. We're just doing the employee break policy. So the purpose of it is to clarify the board's policy for the water and sewer department employees in regards to lunch and breaks. So I have 2 options there for you. And then I gave you kind of a little summary, but it printed like crap from the webpage, so it's a little difficult to read.
So the difference in the two is one is a paid lunch and one is unpaid.
Correct.
The last sentence on here, you have employees working more than 6 hours are required to take a 30-minute unpaid lunch break. Is the 6 hours, does that come out of the statute?
Yes.
So the 6
Statute says anything exceeding 6 hours requires a 30-minute lunch break.
Oh, okay.
Paid or unpaid is up to the employee.
Okay. And then-
So there was a couple of things that I was kind of unclear on or didn't realize. I was always under the assumption, and I don't know if the rule changed or not, but previously we always went under the rule of if it's 4 hours or more, you get a 10-minute paid break. 6 hours or more, I was always under the assumption it was a 20-minute paid lunch or a 30-minute unpaid lunch and a 10-minute break. 8 hours is 2 10-minute breaks and either the 20-minute paid or 30-minute unpaid. But when I read through the regulations, which is why I put the MGL number on the policy, so that's what governs it, it says that once you exceed 6 hours, the employer is required to give them a 30-minute lunch break. Whether it's paid or unpaid is up to the employer.
Right.
But they are required to give a 30-minute lunch break. There is no requirement for the breaks, the 10-minute breaks. So the only requirement is a 30-minute lunch break. Like I said, paid or unpaid is up to the employer.
Well, a 10-minute break, I think that's the statute. If you exceed 4 hours, you have to have. No?
Even here, this is kind of the summary page,
Yeah.
but you might be surprised to learn that federal law does not give employees the right to time off to eat lunch or another meal, or the right to take short breaks during the workday. Although employees must be paid for shorter breaks they are allowed to take during the day, employers are not required to provide these breaks in the first place. So that was the assumption that I was always under, that after 4 hours you were required to give them a 10-minute break,
Yeah. The employees must be paid for short breaks.
if given. But employers are not required to provide these breaks in the first place.
That's, never knew that.
So by law, the only break that you are required
So
to
by
give,
law, you don't even have to give them a break.
you have to give them a lunch break if they exceed
Lunch
6
break,
hours.
that's it.
Correct.
Wow.
But your employees wouldn't last long if you tried to tell them
I've
how to
never-
take
Yeah,
it.
they got a 10-minute break. That's not.
I've only worked 2 places in my life and, you got a 10-minute break. In fact, I thought we got 15 minutes, I'm not sure.
I just thought, because I worked at the same place you worked at,
Isn't it 15?
I thought that was through the requirements. I think the requirement was 2 10-minute and a 20-minute lunch was required. But according to when I looked up the laws.
Yeah, you didn't even have to, except for the lunch.
So it basically says if you give them the break, then you have to pay.
Right.
I don't know of any company
They
that
should.
But doesn't.
doesn't give a 10-minute break. I mean, even in the construction field.
Yeah, you have to have a coffee break.
Yeah.
Take a little break. That's. And then the other thing is this is typically it's always been unpaid lunch down here because the hours of operation are 7 to 3:30. So
Correct.
they have their 8 hours, then they have their half-hour
Right.
break on their own time. So I think we should stay consistent with that.
Stick with the unpaid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep the hours the same, hours of operation the same, and 30-minute unpaid. But they have to take the lunch. They can't be putting it.
Oh, they can't work through the lunch and take a half hour off.
Right.
Right.
Because we had an issue with a previous employee.
Right. So I don't know if you want to put wording in here.
I think you should put wording in there for that.
Well, I did put employees working more than 6 hours are required to take a 30-minute unpaid lunch break.
Oh, okay. Well,
But unfortunately, every time you don't put things clearly,
right.
things come up. So
Yes, we had that problem before.
yeah, the problem is you guys said, all right, you're required to take your lunch break. We sat down with the employee. This has to be done, blah, blah, blah. So he'd work. And at 3 o'clock, he came in and said, okay, I'm taking my lunch break.
Right. Yep. I
So
remember that. I think, yeah, we should probably word that better. That,
I don't know how you want to word it because, I mean, just the nature of our business down here, it's tough to say, all right, 12 to 12:30 or 11:30 to 12 or,
Yeah.
things are going on.
no, it can't be. So, I mean, you're in the middle of a water break, you're not going to take a.
I mean, I think if it was, if you want to put some wording in, I think it would be, it's understood that the lunch, the hours of, the hour, a half hour for lunch shall be between the noon hour, reasonable amount of time. Of some,
Between, what, say like 11:30 and 1, they have to
Yeah.
take it.
some sort of reasonable time table.
I agree with saying reasonable. I mean, I don't want to try to nail it down to it has to be at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause like I said, I mean, I had 15 things going on today that there was no way.
Well, could you simply just word it in there to say that the lunch break shall be,
Take it between the middle of your shift.
right, somewhere in the 4 hour.
Cannot be at the end of your shift,
Maybe, yeah, that might work. May not be taken at the end of your shift. I don't know.
I mean, we shouldn't have to put that in there. It should-
I know, but we did have one guy take advantage of that.
Yeah. I mean, unless you could say, maybe just give it a defined date or as reasonable, as close to that as possible. Give it a defined time or
Yeah.
as close to that as possible.
Making as close to noontime as possible, or,
Yeah. I mean, that just covers it, and then if they take it at one, they take it at one. But at least it's defined and when they're supposed to do it. Cause then you're gonna get, I think you're right, you will get the, like that one that we had previously that said, okay, at 3 o'clock,
Yeah.
I'm taking my lunch.
How does the highway department do it? Cause they, I don't know, usually if we have a break, they're working too, so.
Yeah, highway's different on that.
Cause we're in a different,
Yeah.
we're not like the
right.
town hall with it, set things to do. We don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I can tell you when I, like, with the highway, when you're plowing, plowing snow and things like that. I mean, when I plowed for the highway years ago, it would be, you had a sandwich or something, and you just.
And you're eating while you're driving.
Eat while you're driving,
While
yeah.
you're driving, just eat
Right.
a sandwich and going, you might stop at an intersection, you get everything done, have a quick sandwich and then go. So it wasn't,
That's where the sticky bar comes up, because
The thing, we can't be having a guy eating his lunch while he's working on a water main or a sewer line.
well, I think the intent of this is under the normal business hours. Obviously,
Right,
if you have,
another part of that is that if the employee has, there was two different takes on it, but the employee has to be free of work, you can't say, oh, well, you gotta do this, that would be free from work during their lunch break, so if it's one of them, they can't be working on a water main break, or, dealing with customers or whatever during that time period. Same with admin, she can't be required to answer phone calls or any of that during her lunch break.
yeah, and then, so it's their time.
Yeah, so if you do have it where they are required to, take care of things during their lunch break, then you have to pay them for the lunch break. So. They have to be allowed to leave for lunch if they want. If you don't allow them to leave for lunch, then you gotta pay them for the lunch break.
We gotta come up with some type of wording or
Well, I
something.
think we just go with the wording as is, and then if there's an issue, we can also amend I don't think there'll be an issue. I think it's pretty clear, but
It
if
should
we
be,
have
I
to
mean-
address it, then, which I don't think we will,
That one liked to push buttons, so.
yeah,
That's the first, we only had that one incident,
Yeah.
and it's,
yeah.
I don't know how many years we've been here,
Mhm.
so we'll leave it the way it is.
Yeah,
Do we have to vote on this, or just
I believe so.
consensus?
no, I'll just say, I'll make the motion to adopt the policy.
I'm gonna take the letter off, I just put the letter there just for your purposes to distinguish between the two.
Alright, so we want
to use the
wanna go with the policy number
Okay.
and the letter,
Not the letter.
not the letter?
No, just leave the letter off, but we know it was
Take the letter off,
the unpaid
and-
version.
we'll just cross this one out.
Yeah. Okay, so a motion was to adopt the policy number 046-002 as
As
presented.
written.
And the only other thing, lots of motions, I guess, a second.
Alright, a second.
Discussion on that one, quick discussion would be, shouldn't have to say in here anything consistent with personnel bylaw.
I can put it. I don't know if, we have to follow the personnel bylaws, so.
Right, and they wouldn't be anything different from the state statute, I wouldn't think, right?
I'll say this meets the state statute, so I don't know that, technically they can't not meet the state statute.
That's what I'm saying, so do we need to, maybe, I don't even have to put that in there.
I wouldn't think so.
No.
I can add it.
Maybe a line at the bottom, just to add it, just to be, and shall be consistent with the Town of Douglas personnel bylaw as
You want-
as amended.
Yeah.
Well, what is the personnel bylaw, is it similar to this, or?
It would have, it's a state law, so it would
It's
have
a
to
state
be,
law, so yeah.
but I don't know, like with the unpaid, paid,
Yeah, I'm not, I know
so,
the town hall is unpaid.
right,
I have no idea what the schools are.
yeah, I don't know.
And do you want me to remove this? I didn't have that line item, it was just where I got this.
Yes.
So I'll remove that. I'll leave the MGL number up there.
Okay.
Okay,
But just so you're aware that in the that if you don't allow them to take lunch breaks, it says the fine is,
We have to let them have lunch. We
I
can't-
know.
I mean, it's- we're not gonna-
That's-
minimum $100 fine, maximum 300. So,
They need to have lunch.
no, minimum 300, maximum 600.
So, I'll withdraw my motion and make a new motion as amended as we just discussed. Adding that line.
oh, seconded or?
Yeah.
Okay. And all in, any discussion, what else that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You gonna punch for this?
Third policy.
Oh.
He wants
Oh,
to-
you want?
So you probably should have kept it in there, just so you had, so you probably should have kept it in there, just so you had what was at the meeting.
No, I usually keep that paper at home so I can write on the other side. Okay, policies. Oh, all right. All set on that?
Yep.
All right. What is the story on the staffing update?
Staffing, we've met the requirements in town. No one really interested. We do have one person that may be interested in the wastewater outside of town. So I'm waiting to talk to that person. And
Outside of town or in town?
outside of town. Fairly local.
Was it advertised?
No, not yet.
Okay. So we
That's-
probably should get that advertised
Yeah,
and
I've
then.
got 1,000 ads on my computer right now to get posted to the different sites, so.
I thought we were advertising for an apprentice,
Yeah, we want a laborer
a laborer.
first. We wanna get that first and then,
There's no applicants?
looking
Nobody
for,
in town. I was actually at the picket fence with John, not this weekend, 2 weekends ago. And somebody was talking about it, that they were looking for their son to get a job because they didn't wanna go to college and was looking to start working. So we told them to come down and put an application in and he never came down, so.
yes, I think.
Are we advertising this?
We had
That's
voted
what I was
to,
saying. The advertisements are doing all the,
Local papers?
not local papers, but the trade
Trade papers.
things that we do.
we probably should put one in for a labor position too, put one in the Tribune.
Well, what are you looking for a laborer
We're
position?
looking for the same as like we hired Steve, so just use the same ad.
Steve was hired as the assistant wastewater.
Not initially, no.
Oh, yeah, he was.
He didn't have any licenses.
He was still hired as
He
the
was-
assistant wastewater operator.
On his ad, I think that the general consensus of the board was that we wanna get somebody in as labor and then put them with water for a few days and then with wastewater for a few days. And then see if we have enough, because we do need, we're definitely short on a lot of stuff that's gotta get done.
Oh,
And then if they seem like they have an ability to move forward like we did with Steve, to get the licenses and move them forward and bring them up a little bit that way. Cause I think the other problem is you get them, I think we're gonna be hard to get operators at the moment. The way that everybody's pretty busy, it's a shortage of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's just gonna drag it on. We need to immediately get some extra hands in there, to get things done. And that's what we did talk about several times on that, and I wanna get that.
Mhm.
well, I think that'll take a little more discussion then.
We've already discussed it on several times.
Okay, well, I can tell you that legally you'll be different than your discussions. Because the state's pushing for licensed operators, ran through this in another town already recently. if they're not licensed, they're not allowed to do weekend rounds.
Mhm.
So there'll be no on-call until they get licensed.
Right.
They have to work under the licensed operator. It can only be during when a licensed operator's on site with them. So you won't meet the requirements on either side. And that doesn't fix the on-call situation either.
Well, it'll be a start in the right direction to get where we
And
need to
then
be.
when you hire someone and you're hiring them as an assistant, at what point do you tell them they're working out, not working out? If you hire them without a license and without the requirement of a license, you can't just fire them. So you're gonna have to have something in there
Of course we can fire.
for what?
Massachusetts is a workable state.
Then you better talk to town council about that, because you know how much money it cost me the last operator I got rid of?
Where? Here?
Here.
Wow. I know what you're saying, however, it's not hostage by that. That's not, I understand what you're saying, but I don't subscribe to it. And I think the discussion on the employee that we could put, if it's simply just to put an assistant water sewer operator. When we hired Steve, we could use the same ad, do the same exact thing that Steve's worked out well.
Steve was hired under the ad that was out for a
Water.
assistant chief operator on the wastewater.
Water Steve,
The current Steve.
current Steve. Okay. So for the assistant, and then he went,
He moved over when that
right,
position was
and
vacant.
he didn't have any licenses when he was hired.
No, he did not.
Okay. So that's
But
my,
I had
that's-
licensed operators here.
Right, in which we currently have licensed operators here. So if we put an ad, the same exact situation as Steve, with an assistant water sewer operator as the title, and then do the same
That
exact thing.
wasn't the title.
Well, we could do the new title being assistant water sewer operator. And then moving forward to, just like we did with Steve.
Alright, so I gotta change everything that was out there, including the internal postings.
Well, that's what we wanted to do, is make sure that was for essentially a laborer or assistant, if you wanna call an assistant, and then move them through. I
Alright,
mean, we could just do a simply a laborer. What did you post?
I posted an assistant wastewater operator and an assistant water operator. And the part-time position that used to be Willie's.
Well, I would then repost it as a assistant water and wastewater operator, and the same, everything else the same as you did with Steve. And then when they start working, see which way they go. If they like the wastewater better than the water, then and if they have the ability to get the licenses, I think.
Because that's what we do with Steve.
Right, same exact thing we do with Steve, and it's worked out well.
Yeah.
I just think, it's just
So you want one posting.
one posting to get one employee in at the moment. And then we'll do another round once we get going in this, I mean,
And
it'd be
which-
nice to just get one guy going, we haven't had that for some time.
Yeah. Alright,
I mean, it seems we can't get a wastewater or water. It's just, they're all. I think that,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought there was a demand for this.
what do you mean, there is a
Demand
demand,
for
There's-
water
there's-
and
every
sewer.
town in the state's looking for operators,
Hmm,
that's a demand, yeah. But there's no one that wants to fill the
nobody
position.
wants to do it.
That's my reasoning behind bringing him in as an assistant and then moving him to like we did with Steve.
See which way they wanna go.
And then once we get them set and moving, then we'll look at getting another one.
Why is it, what would be the reasoning for somebody not wanting to start in here? I mean, everybody, the demand, but.
Hey, look at the jobs online right now, $30 an hour as an
30?
operator. So I can tell you what you're gonna do, you're gonna bring someone in here for what we pay as an assistant, unlicensed, we're gonna pay to get them licensed, and they're gonna move on to one of the towns that's paying $30 an hour. So we're gonna be a stepping stone training block paying for everyone to get their licenses.
We would have for years.
So you're gonna have me bring someone in that doesn't have any experience to work under someone that doesn't have any experience. And I don't have time to babysit everybody here and to just try to train constantly. I got stacks of stuff I gotta work on.
Well, we have the licensed operator, so I think we should, I think it'd be hard pressed to get another operator versus getting the laborer, which is a lot of things that still have
I'll
to be
post
done.
whatever you guys want.
That's what we've discussed that several times.
Well, I have a feeling the best thing to do is like we did with Steve.
Yeah, and it's worked out well. I think it's worked out well with Steve, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go from that.
Huh?
I'm gonna go that way.
Yeah, I can. That's what we've talked about on a few different occasions. So the only thing I'd like to look up on that would be the difference between a laborer and an assistant sewer and assistant operator, what the legalities will be on either one of those, or any kind
I
of
have
conflict.
no idea what you mean on that.
Alright, I can talk to you about it later. Just to make sure that there's nothing that says that would be inconsistent with the state statute on water or sewer. If there's nothing that says that, which I don't think there will be because we did it with Steve, so I'm assuming that you wouldn't have done anything in violation of any laws.
Wastewater doesn't have the same requirements as water. Water, you can't do anything without the operator there.
Operator in training. You have to have an operator in training, right?
No, you can't even do anything under that
Yeah.
without a certified operator there.
Mhm.
On the wastewater, there's a little more leeway depending on what you're doing. Your license requirements aren't the same.
Steve's a certified operator.
And Steve is fully certified,
Yes.
both treatment and distribution on the water.
Okay, so we're good.
What's that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Update on the meter readings. I think you kind of filled us in a little bit.
Yeah, this was just carryover from the last agenda that was,
Because everything's going all set now with the census meeting and,
so far, yep.
okay.
Like I said, we had a few hiccups on the high and low readings. We don't know whether that was, I'm assuming it's more of a munis issue than a census. So.
Yeah. All right. Goals and objectives. We started to work on our policies changes.
Yeah, we have been doing.
Yeah, we've been trying to do one every meeting
One
now,
every-
so
yeah.
this is the third
So
one
we
that's
did
been
this one
approved.
here. Okay. What would be our next one we'll probably work on?
Policy?
There was one thing we're working on currently. What was that?
And we approved the water theft.
I have to look back through the
Yeah, see
minutes
what's
and see
next one.
something.
I know I got a thing at home and I started going through it and I
New connection policy.
kind of lost.
What was it?
New connection.
Oh yeah, that's what we talked about.
Oh, fee connections?
Yeah,
No, new connections like
Yes.
tying in a new service.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
We had some issues with different ways on tying in new services, and we don't have equipment to excavate, so it was discussed that new tie-ins will be a burden on the
Homeowner.
homeowner to have the excavation done.
All the contractor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I've always done, so I don't know what. you know, I've always done, I've never had to,
We've always done that except for individual homes.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if there's a leak or something on the road, emergency, then highway would do it, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we should be asking highway to do.
Oh, services,
tie,
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that should be, the contract should be doing that,
Yeah. Okay.
so, if you agree with that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I've got some of that, and then those different things that I was adding in there on fees or anything. So
Yeah,
for the taps and for parts and who owns what, who pays for what. So just want to have all. I mean, it's already in there in that little policy that we have, but I just want a little clearer because we've had some people complaining
Yeah.
and arguing over who needs to do
Who pays
it.
for what? Okay.
well, I think it's clear, if you're doing just say in a normal situation as a tap, they obviously have their guy do the digging, we make the tap, they get charged for the material. They get charged for the piping, they get charged for anything that's on their property, so which would be the curb box and all that everything that was that's associated with that. So they're basically any material associated with the tie-in.
Right.
And that's pretty much what we have now, but
That's
we
always
just, no, we don't have as far as the digging them, right?
Well, I don't think Bob was saying that wasn't clear on the policy.
Wasn't clear, yeah.
Because I've had a couple of them say, no, we want you to do the excavation and everything in the road, and then we'll do from the property line in. Then there's some other things that I wanted to get clarification on in the policy as to people demanding service connections beyond what they need, such as a 2-inch service for a single family house. Just what we require if they do go to something beyond a typical 1-inch service line. Then we also looked into, just on the connection part, changing when we install new meters or anything, putting a double check so that there's no, we'll basically have backflow prevention on all the services. It's minimal cost difference between the fitting that we use now and the fitting with the double check built into it. So
You wanna require that?
yeah, it's one of the. I'm going to add that in the policy when I write it. So just giving you guys a heads up on that.
Waynesville does that
expect
now,
that,
don't
yeah.
they?
A lot of towns.
Yeah,
are
a lot of
doing
towns,
it,
yeah.
Yeah. It also helps us because it goes on the customer side of the meter. So if they don't have ball valves or anything on their service lines, when we go to change a meter, if you got
Oh, suck back.
if you're in the basement, you got 2 floors above you or whatever, the whole house could empty down into the basement. They got a finished basement. We're sitting there with sometimes we're only this high off the floor, so we're sitting there with a little pan,
Yeah.
drain off a little bit, go empty it,
Yeah.
drain off a little.
Yeah, that
Double
should
check
be.
right there will stop that flow from coming back from the whole house right there. So,
Yeah.
so it solves 2 issues.
A ball valve, right? Just throw in a ball valve on each side of the.
Yeah, we don't do ball valves on their side because we don't own the plumbing and we don't do plumbing.
So right, so when we go in,
We use a meter valve.
yeah, so you get the meter valve, so you can shut
Yeah,
that
but
off, and then when it
we
comes
shut
out
off the
Plumbing
street
code
side.
requires a ball valve on the
on the where it stubs.
outlet side.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you whoever the plumbing inspector was that did their job in town because we got a whole lot of houses with
Well,
no ball
maybe,
valves.
yeah, but now they, I mean,
Well, it could have been a gate valve at
Well,
one
the
point.
gate valves, but trust me, this house
I
is
mean,
here that have
anything new,
nothing.
I mean, it's been like that for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, anything new. I haven't seen anything that wasn't like that, like Bob's
Yeah.
saying.
I've got
But
plenty of
that's not relatively new. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
older ones,
Yeah, older ones.
Yeah, all the newer stuff typically
Oh,
has
yeah.
valves.
Yeah,
At least last 10, 15, 20 years
yeah.
even.
I mean, it's kind of foolish not to do
I
it.
mean, I've
Yeah.
always done it.
But regardless, this solves that issue. And a lot of people have gate valves, and the gate valves don't work.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And they can't get an inspection anyway because they got to do the pressure test, so they got to have a valve there to shut it off.
Right.
well, you get a meter valve.
Yeah, but if there's no meter,
Oh yeah.
know what I mean, if they, usually they call for their rough inspection, cause that's done.
Yeah.
So you get the rough inspection, has to have, you gotta have.
The valves off.
Valves off.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that was one of the things I anticipate on adding to that is that we install double checks on the meters. So
Well, I don't know if we, I mean, do you think we need double checks if you have to have a ball, if you have to have, the bill, if the plumbing code says you have to have a ball valve?
Well, the double check is on the meter, on the on our main side, not in the building.
that's what I thought. But when I got our supplier brought one in, and you almost can't even tell it's a double check. It looks just like the meter coupling, but inside it is a double check. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, hey, this is backwards. So the flow won't let you go that way. He's like, no, that's how it's supposed
I
to
don't know
go.
if anybody requires a double check on
The customer side.
customer side.
That's how it is.
I've
then.
heard it on the water side.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. That makes more
Suppliers.
sense.
Just wait until, like you said, all the towns around
Yeah.
have it on that.
I don't know,
But
I don't.
back
I
to
don't
your
think that
point,
should
I
be
know what you're
required.
saying.
It's redundant, now you're contradicting the plumbing code.
Yeah,
So
I
it's a
wouldn't
redundancy
thought-
on the, it's a redundancy on the.
Well, it doesn't
I
matter
wouldn't
on
put
the
that in
plumbing
there.
code. It's our meter coupling.
Yeah, but
It's
it's on
built
the other
into the
side
meter.
of the meter, and that's what plumbing code takes on the other side of the meter, not on the homeowner side.
Right.
That's where our jurisdiction stops, the same as a well tank. Our jurisdiction stops at the valve.
But is there anything in the code that prevents you from putting a double check?
That I don't know, I just never heard
I
of
can't
anybody put
imagine.
one on.
Well, that's how they are. So if that's how they're manufactured. I don't know what they're telling you in the other towns, but if you take the meter coupling off, I'll
Is
guarantee
it
it's
for
on.
an older, say if you do a meter change on an older house that doesn't have a ball valve?
Well,
or
a
a
double
gate
check is to prevent them from contaminating our water supply.
valve? Right,
Yeah.
So it's
But if
basically
you have to double check on the water side of the meter, that's gonna prevent it.
I agree, and I would prefer that, but that's not how it was manufactured. If I put it on the meter side, on our side, then there's no water going to come in because
Well, how
that's the
do
way
the
the
other
checks work.
towns use it?
They're putting it on the customer side of the meter.
I don't know.
You can check, but like I said, you can't tell when it's. If you're looking at it without looking in it, you can't tell it's a double check. It just looks like a regular meter coupling
so why wouldn't it work on this side and work on this side?
because here's your
If it-
meter.
Right, if it's a,
Let me grab a meter and I'll show you.
No, I just never heard of it.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it, no heard of
He
it.
didn't leave me one, so I don't have one to show you. This is your meter, and this is our side feeding, and this is the customer side. So this double check is going to prevent water from going this way. So if I put it on this side and it prevents water from going this way, you have no water to go through the meter.
Correct. But they don't, so they don't make
That is
them,
how it's manufactured. It's manufactured to prevent water from going that way.
it's on this side of the, I just on that side of the thing, so that they don't make one that goes on the,
I asked him that because I said the same thing. I'd prefer to have
Well,
it
how
on
does the other
our
towns
side.
do it? They have it on their side of the meter.
Are you positive? Have you looked at it? You're looking at it together. Like I said, it looks identical. You don't know which one has a
That's
double
it
check.
there?
so if it was,
This isn't
No,
it
it's
because I
just
don't
like
have
that.
one in it, but that's what it looks like.
so would it be just another fitting that goes on
No,
here?
it looks
Okay,
just
yeah,
like this.
yeah,
It's
you
just
can't-
built into
That's
this.
the check is built into that.
Inside
part.
of it. So it's just built into this piece right here. And you, like I said, you couldn't tell the difference between this one and one that has one in it.
Yeah.
But I
Plus,
said the
something-
same thing.
something to look into, I haven't
Have
seen
to
it,
look
I've
into
never
it
seen
because
it.
it's the first I heard about it.
Me too, because I asked him, and the only reason I said,
Well, how does the other town put it on their side, the water side?
like I said, are you sure they're putting it on their side? You don't know, 'cause
all
you
I-
didn't take it apart and look at it before.
No, but
So
I
they're
know
probably
Whitensville
putting them on this side.
requires a check valve on their side of the meter. So how does that get done?
I don't know if they're putting them on that side of the meter. They
Maybe
might
they're
be
putting
putting them on the other side.
Maybe the code says to put them on the other side, but they're not.
But
putting it.
it's all together. You don't say, take that apart, let me see. You know what
We're
I
gonna have to
mean?
do some investigating on that.
Yeah, I've never seen one, so I
Nah,
Well, I'd never seen it myself. I thought it would have been, like you said, another piece that goes on.
Right, so you can put it on the other side.
So
of
I
it.
asked him about them, and I think Steve had paperwork. I'm not sure where he put it, put all the stuff on them. So he's like, I got one in my trucks. I said, all right. So I was looking at it and I'm playing with the check, and I'm like, wait a minute. I said, how the hell does that work? It's not going to let water come in. He's like, no, it goes on that side. I'm like, it should go on our side. And he said, no, this is how they all are. I'm like,
no.
all right.
Double-
So,
yeah, have to double check that.
no pun intended, huh?
Yeah, yeah, no pun intended. Exactly.
Yeah, well, I'll have to do some investigating on that
Yeah.
then.
So I don't see anything that would be in the plumbing code that would prevent you from putting a double check.
No.
So it's
no,
not a
I think
code
so.
violation. And
As
technically, this is part of the meter,
Right.
so it's the meter coupling.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be, yeah, I don't see where it'd be against the code.
But yeah, if they make them so they go on our side, I would
Yeah.
prefer it, and that's where I'll put them.
Yeah.
If not, if that's how they manufacture them, that's. I just think that a lot of the subdivisions, like,
So if we install a meter, not to interrupt you, but if you install a meter, then you would put that coupling on
correct.
and then let the plumber tie to that.
We do that now. I mean, we put one of these so the plumber takes off from here. Because they don't have meter couplings. Plumbers don't have meter couplings. They go to a pipe thread.
Yeah.
And that's not pipe thread.
I could never understand why they worry about that. Well, we got backflow preventers on anything that has a hose on it.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, a kitchen faucet or bathroom faucet or something like that, or a toilet, it's not gonna suck water out.
I understand.
Water.
Well-
I understand the concept what you're saying, but
Yeah.
this would prevent issues like we've had on the Wickstead Court, not Wickstead, Caswell.
Oh,
Anytime
but
we flush or do
the water
something,
sucking out
the
of
water
the building, right.
sucks out, and I think we ended up
Oh,
buying
yeah,
a hot water heater at one
Right.
point.
well, this both the public code also says on the hot water.
I know
heaters
the hot
supposed to
water.
have-
I'm
supposed
just
to have
saying this would resolve.
It's a vacuum breaker.
Right.
This would
vacuum
resolve that issue as well.
Yeah.
It would stop that.
Yeah,
And sometimes the
Backside.
vacuums, they don't always work.
yeah, it would fail like anything. I'm sure those valves could fail
Right.
as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
That may not always work either.
Right, so it's gonna.
But
What's the cost? What's the cost of one of those?
minimal.
Okay,
It was almost what we're paying for them now.
Oh,
So
okay.
I just didn't want to have to.
if there was some ridiculous price, I wouldn't even have considered it. But when he
I was
told me,
thinking it would just be redundancy, and is it necessary? And is it
I think
redundant?
it was less than $10. And
Yeah, but
that's-
we pay for that now, don't we?
No, we bill the customers
I mean, bill the customer.
With the meter.
on a new one.
Yeah,
But that's how we do all of them. So any new connection, they pay for everything anyway. So
They pay
where,
for the meter,
where we
yeah.
would bear the cost is if we start, when we change meters, if we change this fitting, when we change a meter.
change meter.
So that we can start getting all the houses with a double check. Just to avoid pulling a vacuum on their lines and to prevent them from contaminating.
So it would
ones.
simply just be one of these, when we install a meter, gets mounted and the plumber hooks to that. So the plumber takes it from the valve
From-
that we put on.
Yeah, but
From-
we supply that.
Right.
Yes.
So we
So
put
then
this
it
on,
wouldn't- so it
and then
wouldn't
the
be
plumber takes it
contradicting-
from there.
So it wouldn't be contradicting the
No,
plumber.
not really.
Correct.
I wouldn't think so.
All right, 'cause
I
some
can't
plumbers
see
are
any
very
disadvantage.
user-oriented.
Oh, I know. Trust me, the plumbers were causing all kinds of issues over
They'll-
us working on fire hydrants.
Plumbers union could do something a little different.
Yeah, tell me about
Yeah,
it.
the plumbers union was trying to fight, saying that only plumbers could work on a fire hydrant because it's plumbing.
Yeah, I know, that's stupid. Go back.
I'm not opposed to that. If it's that simple and we put it on when we put them in, and the plumber hooks to that, and it's not contradicting anything to do with the.
But like I said,
The,
if I can get it so it's made to go on our side instead of their side,
Yeah.
I'll do that. But if that's the only way they manufacture them, then
Yeah.
I'm stuck with it.
Yeah, I can, I don't see any problem with that. And it's a minimum cost, what, maybe $4 or $5 or something more?
I think he said it was like $6 for the whole thing,
$6 for the whole
which is I'd have to check.
So
But
it's
it's
not-
pretty close to what we're paying for them anyway.
I mean, it kinda makes sense, because then that way, they, You don't have, the older houses though, probably don't have ball valves or gate valves. Yeah, I've
No,
seen
but if
ball
we're-
valves not work either too now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you get the
Anything
ones that people have
mechanical,
throttled.
yeah.
I just went to one. I'm like, do you guys run out of water? And they're like, no, we always have good pressure. I'm like, the valve was like,
Just slowly drop down.
no, I mean, it was more than 3/4 shut. I'm like, you could almost put the lock through, you know, the meter valves had the lock spot. I'm like, your valve's off. He's like, I don't know. I'm like, oh no, you still got like, it was less than 1/4 of a turn.
Wow.
And that's on a 3-family.
That sounds like somebody just trying to slow down the
Conserve
water
water.
consumption.
That's what I said. I said, yeah, you probably need a PRV here, but
I just put a pressure reducer valve on one of my places. And I never thought about it, you know.
Yeah, well,
You know,
anywhere-
it's got
anywhere-
what, over 100 pounds.
anywhere
on it.
downtown here, you need them.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I don't have a faucet at home, so I've been using the wash the car once in a while down the house down here, and freaking blows the hose
Yeah.
out of my hands.
Yeah, I
I
would
told
say,
Brian, I said, it's about time we put a pressure reducer valve on.
Yeah.
I mean, it was actually pushing my hand back.
I was having a problem with years ago with on the boilers. It was going through the coil so fast
Oh yeah, right.
that, and I'm like, kept
Wouldn't
thinking,
heat it,
you know,
yeah.
it wouldn't heat it. And I kept thinking, what could it be? What could it be? And then I think Brian's the one. He said, oh, you need to have a flow restrictor, 3 gallons a
the
minute.
little
whatever it is. Yeah.
orifice thing.
Yeah,
And he goes,
3
"It's
gallon
prob-
a minute.
And he goes, there's probably some on there. He said, I think Brian looked at the time, and they blow out or something in the middle of the
Yeah, it's only a
gasket.
little rubber washer with a hole in
Rubber,
it.
yeah. So the rubber washer would, then the water would blow right through,
Yeah.
so we'd change them out. But I couldn't figure out, like, why is
Yeah.
it couldn't keep the water on. But, all right.
All right.
Yeah. So
So I'll work on
yeah.
that
yeah, if you get them on the other
connection
side, good.
policy
If
for
you
the next
can't-
one. Yeah, I mean, either way, like I said,
Yeah.
you can't tell which side it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see that. Yeah, now it's a problem. Is what happens when a plumber puts it. Well, if he puts it on wrong, he ain't gonna have any water. So
So if
You
we-
can't put it on wrong.
can't.
It's built into this.
Why? Why can't you put it on our side of the meter?
You
by
could, but
mistake?
we install those.
Yeah.
We put the meters on,
All right.
and typically it's not even. And that's the other problem. Most of the way we connect them, it's a meter valve. It's not a meter connection. So I don't know how Whitensville's doing it if they're doing it on the other
I
side.
don't know. I don't know. all I
Because
know is
our
they have to
valves,
double check.
they're called meter valves, and it's the valve has this fitting and goes right to here
Yeah.
with the valve.
I know because we have problems over there with hot water tanks and stuff like that. We have to put expansion tank on it. Because when it expands.
Yeah. I was thinking of maybe check valve. I never thought about you could put it on either side. You could flip them over, if you wanted.
And that's
It was going.
that's another thing too. We may wind up having a
you're
problem
pumping it, so
by.
if you wanted, if it went on one side, it would still come through.
Yeah.
Come back or go, but you could.
Right, but
Threads.
those are female by female.
Right. Right.
So these are
another
these only
thing,
go
too.
on one way.
We may have a problem with that because some hot water heaters they start expanding and they're not far enough away from the line where it can expand. That may start popping safety valves.
It's not a safety valve though.
No, but
safety
I mean,
valve in the
if
house.
the hot water heater can't expand.
Wasn't that plumbing code? Shouldn't they have an expansion tank?
We don't require it. And a lot of times, every once in a while, in Whitensville, you got to put one on because it has a problem
Expansion tank.
on the hot water. Put it on the cold water side, feed to the hot water tank.
Yeah, because a lot of times there isn't anything on the hot water side. A lot of times there isn't an expansion. On
No,
the
there isn't. You don't
Yeah.
put them on unless you have to. Because most of the time, if it expands enough, it'll go back into the well, it won't fall all the way back into the main,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
And
It
we
gives
had
it
to
that
put one over
cushion.
here because of that. We had to put one over here on that hot water heater.
yeah.
Expansion tank.
Yeah, we would look into that. We don't want to be causing any kind of problems like that.
No.
Blow off valves going off and all that stuff.
Well, you don't want the water going back and forth through the meter either. So
No.
All right, we'll do some research on that. All set?
Yeah.
it would be no different if we had required an RPZ. If you're required a backflow device, what do they do in that case if they got a hot water heater?
Backflow device
If you required a backflow device,
on a hot water heater?
no, in a house. they were doing something in the house and we required them to put an RPZ on the water line, what would you do?
What would be the requirement to make them put one in?
Yeah,
If they've got buckets of chemical, or if they got an irrigation system that they're feeding off of their.
well, the irrigation system already has them
Well,
on
that's
there.
separate though. If you,
I see a lot of people using irrigation systems all of a
I
sudden.
noticed that.
Where'd they
too.
come in?
I've been taking pictures.
I think it's terrific.
The
Well,
bank has one going now, the,
Sprinkle oil.
across the
Bank-
street from the
bank
bank
always
has
had
one going.
Yeah.
And nobody's pulling any permits.
Well, the bank's always had theirs.
They always had, yeah.
Across the street from the bank. Which one?
Right directly in front of it.
Oh, they've had it too.
They've had that
That's
there?
been in there, yeah. We
Oh, so they just-
we ripped the
they just
wires out
started
and put the
using
new
it.
service in.
The ballpark has one going. I just went down to the ballpark today. I went by there and it got a sprinkler going.
Well, I think,
Ballparks,
I
believe,
still,
came out of the
I
river.
know,
That
we
comes
never,
out of the river, right?
we never followed up on we had discussed it at one point, just being consistent.
Eliminating the.
Just be consistent with the DEP requirements,
Yeah.
allowing sprinkler systems. Just follow the requirements that DEP already has set forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think we should do instead.
Yeah.
I think when you say no, what do you get? You're gonna get somebody, so yeah,
Put them in anyway.
They're gonna
but
bootleg it.
anyway, they're not getting them checked, they're not getting the
Right.
We
valves.
should allow them, but we should have a permit for them so that we can go inspect it and make sure they're not tied in before the meter like the one over here was.
Right, I think they have an irrigation permit, that's,
Oh, yeah, you have to have a permit.
yeah.
We ended up getting our money back on that one. So.
Yeah. But in most towns, you have to have an irrigation permit. You gotta put one in, you just have a permit, so you know that the valves are getting put in, that's supposed to be put in.
Right.
A lot of times they wire you 2 meters too.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Oh, an exception means
Exception meter. I'm against exception meters.
just on an irrigation system?
No,
No,
some,
we're still
some
allowed
towns
to.
allow you to put them on anything outdoors. So if you wanted to have it set up so that the
Outside
consumption
faucet.
meter is outside faucets, and you know people fill their pools and everything else off them.
Mhm.
You know, you start letting everyone in town fill their pools and
I don't
everything
depend,
else.
but
And then
around
you-
Worcester allows 2 meters and a lot of the towns allow 2 meters.
On a general outside faucet, I would be opposed to that, but I mean, I wouldn't be opposed if somebody had a irrigation system for an exception meter. And if it's a lot of constant.
we need it for new houses and new connections. And
Hmm?
so we need it for new customers. Start taking away from our available water to bring new customers on board, because people are just wasting the water all day long. I mean, I drive by and it's pouring rain and people's irrigation systems
Yeah, I
are
know.
running.
They're paying for it.
They're paying for it if you don't give them an exception meter. You give them an exception meter, they're paying nothing.
No, they're just paying for the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're paying.
And
for it.
water's
They're paying for
inexpensive.
what they use. And realistically, if you look at what we're using in water and what we have the ability to,
What our wells will pump, but still
Pump,
what we're permitted for, and then they're
Which
using it
was-
for that and not paying sewer on it, which is, you know, you're paying a premium for not using it for its intended purpose.
so I think we just look at the DEP policy on it.
I'm not opposed to allowing irrigation. I'm just saying I'd be against exception meters. And if you guys wanted to allow exception meters, I would push for a tiered rate structure. So,
A tiered rate structure on,
just across the board.
well, maybe on that.
0 to 1,500 would be one price, 1,500 to 3,000 would be another price, 3,000 to 4,500 or 5,000 or whatever.
For what purpose would that be? What would be the rationale behind that?
Promotes conservation. You know, if I've got to go file for an upgraded Water Management Act permit and go through all the permitting and everything else and the requirements for upgrading pumping capacities and everything else, because you want to put 100,000 gallons of water on the ground,
I could tell you we're the only town around that doesn't allow it.
and I can tell you we're one of the only towns around that doesn't have a tiered rate structure.
I haven't looked at that, but I could look at that and find out.
Yeah.
But I know we're not with, any other town around here
Allows it.
irrigation. That's a permit, you get a permit for it and do it.
But you also gotta keep in mind that we have water bans that have to go in effect every year.
That's mandatory, the state.
Exactly,
requires that
it's
anyway.
pretty much across the state.
Right. Every other town has that same.
But when someone goes and pays to put in an irrigation system and they pay for a permit to put one in, and then you turn around and say, yeah, you can't use it during the day. You know,
Well, I think the DEP addresses that in there.
right, they tell you, you're
In
not
their
supposed to
policy.
water between 9 and 5 anyway, because it doesn't do your lawn any good.
No. It's
That's what I mean, if we stay consistent with what DEP guidelines are, the rules and regulations set forth by them, I think it would be a good discussion to have in the future.
I agree. Because I'm not opposed to them. I'm not opposed to them.
Alright, so we're gonna be working on that. Alright.
I recently said we need to run another pipe through town, and we'll just pipe our effluent through town and let people tie in irrigation off of that.
There's some green lines.
Town will be green as can be,
As can
and
be.
Yeah.
we'll get rid of our NIPD's permit.
Let's see.
Alright, you got any other topics you wanna talk about?
I don't think so, let me think. We touched on the employees, touched on the policy on the time.
I did put an article for town
Yeah,
meeting
that's right, that's what I was gonna say, there's another thing.
for the engineering for Davis Street to extend down there. So it's just for the engineering portion.
That's not on our article.
Correct, that's coming out of, what do they call it?
The levy.
No.
Free cash.
Stabilization,
Stabilization or free cash.
free cash.
Well, it's coming out of town's free cash,
Yeah.
not ours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause the
but
purpose
just-
of it, the purpose of it is for economic development down Davis Street, so,
Right.
and so we can have the ability to apply for grants.
But just in case, because people will probably question you once they see the article on town meeting, because it was $501,500.
That number that Gina, came from Gina?
Yeah, but that, I put in what the number came from the engineers. Somewhat in the interest of time, because we were limited on how much time we had to get the article written into them. There's a couple factors there that could come into play. I think one, they don't anticipate doing anything unless we get a grant of some sort for the construction end of it. Two, that 501,000 includes the engineering for the design and the construction oversight, so it's probably close to half and half. So it's really about half of that. So half of that wouldn't be expended unless we went forward with the construction. So these are just points to point out if people ask you about it.
Right.
And then the third part would be if we could get one of the developers to do the surveying portion of it, it would significantly decrease the engineering costs, because that's a significant part of that design.
So I know in discussion with them, the grants available don't cover engineering.
Correct.
But what about the inspection of construction?
It may, the grants are gonna be a percentage, it's typically a 50-50 match. So even if it did cover that part of it, it would just go towards part of our match. So that would be up to the engineers and whoever does the grant work to get that included. I'm sure it all depends on what grant you go for. They all have different stipulations, but I don't think any of them that I've seen cover the engineering design portion of it. So the design portion I know won't be covered, but the engineering services for construction maybe. So unfortunately, I don't wanna put the article in minimizing that number and then not be able to do it. So I put in what all the engineering costs was gonna be. So it looks like a bigger number at town meeting, unfortunately, but.
Yeah, but as long as you can explain it.
I was gonna say, I think it just, that's why I know you guys will get calls or,
Yeah.
you know, what the heck is this? And
Yeah.
like I said, so.
Hate
if you-
mail.
Yeah. Yeah, so if it's gonna raise our taxes, you know. But, just so you have those ideas
Yeah,
you know, that the intent is, I don't think, to move forward unless we know we're gonna get a
the
grant.
grant, right, it was gonna be subject to that. anyway.
And it's, half of that wouldn't be expended until the construction took place. And another portion of the half that might get spent to do the design could be eliminated if we got a contractor or developer or whoever plans on coming in down there.
So do we have to have that other portion of it in there, into that article? I hate to put money into something that's there, because then it's too easily transferred, used, or whatever. Or it's specifically,
And it's,
I mean, because if
I don't think you can take that money and use it towards something else. If it's approved for the engineering services,
right,
I
okay.
don't know that that could be transferred to
is-
something
Is
else.
that gonna hurt us on if we already have that money approved?
All the
and
grants require you to have
The engineering.
well, first of all, the engineering has to be done before you can apply for the grant.
Right, so if we get all the engineering done, then it's there, but now the second half of that, what you're telling me, is the construction portion of that.
All the grants require town meeting appropriation for the full value of the project. So it has to be fully funded through the town, but not
Yes.
expended through the town, cause they'll reimburse for
50%.
50%. But you have to have it approved at town meeting for the full price of the project. You can't say, we're only gonna approve half of it, cause we're expecting half of it in a grant.
Okay,
They won't allow that.
no.
I know
no,
what you're saying.
No, I'm not, I know what you're saying, but that, do we wanna include the other half of that? Why don't we wait till the
The engineering
construction?
services part,
Yes, why don't we wait till the construction monitoring and include that in the construction part of whenever we get to that point? Instead of including it in the engineering part now.
well, I'll have to do a little more research to make sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, I've already got the article written and it's closed.
mhm.
So I would say this gives me a little bit of time before the meeting.
Right, you can always reduce it
Well,
versus,
I was gonna say, I wanted to put that's why I said I wanted to put the full value to make sure we were covered and we didn't have a problem and say, oh, forget it, we can't do it because we didn't put enough money in
right,
there.
yeah, we don't wanna be caught with that.
But
But
I'll,
you can always reduce it,
Right,
but you can't increase it.
right,
right, so I wanted to put the article to make sure we were covered, cause that covered every aspect of the engineering portion. I'll ask more questions
on that.
as to what needs to be in there to get approved for this portion of it, and if it can be reduced, then we can make a motion on the floor, you just gotta give it to them ahead in writing or whatever.
Right, yeah,
Make a motion to amend the
right,
article to whatever dollar amount.
right, for the engineering services, not the construction on site.
Right. Well, unfortunately, they list that as engineering services.
Yeah, just double check and see, just so you
Right,
know.
so,
If we can,
and
I'd rather have it on the other side.
right, so if we can have it so that that number is reduced,
Right,
you know, better chance for it to go through town meeting and what
Yes.
is actually the intent of it,
right,
I agree.
right,
So I will ask the questions to make sure, like I said, I didn't wanna tie our hands and I was limited on time.
no, we can always reduce, it's easy to reduce, people like when it gets reduced, when
Right.
when it goes up.
Yeah, if I put the article for 250 and then came in and
Yeah.
said, hey, no, we really need
You'd
500.
be dead in the water,
Yeah.
they would start
Right.
saying, what's going on, you'd be, yeah,
But that was the estimate I got from them for engineering, and like I said, the engineers did say, hey, if you can talk the contractor or
Into doing-
developer into doing the surveying part,
and that'll
which I'm
reduce.
sure the developer doing surveying is at a much better rate than what
We have to.
we
do.
have
we
to
would
pay
have to
for
pay.
surveying, so I
Yeah.
think it would be helpful all the way around.
Good. Okay,
But that's a
Alright.
conversation that has to happen with people that, there's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
conversations
yeah,
going on,
yeah.
so.
well, I agree, wanna make sure it's very, make sure you get your ducks in a row on that.
Right, like I said, so I just wanted to make sure worst case scenario was in place, and then if we can reduce, it's better.
Yeah.
If not, we're covered, so.
Okay. And only other old business would be, or new business, however you wanna look at it, old new business would be, Bob and I had met with a couple of different guys to get the heating AC stuff going. And we're trying to just get 3 bids to get that, and that's part of, this article, cause to get the unit in the back changed.
Right, yeah.
And we did talk to, yesterday we had, two companies.
contractors in yesterday.
Who?
2 contractors came in yesterday, and we talked about doing the mini splits and that system and then versus, and both of them agreed that, they said, why, you know, they weren't in favor, they weren't subscribing to the whole thing of the mini splits working very well in the winter type of heat. They said they're great for AC, however, they think that they
wouldn't be good for heat.
They said they're not gonna be very good. Their opinion was that it would be more economical to put in either put another oil furnace in, once they use the existing ductwork,
Right.
or switch out to, with propane,
Propane.
which I think the general consensus after we discussed everything with, you know, with everybody that went through it and said,
Go propane.
go propane, and then, but they were gonna bid the mini splits as well, so we're gonna look. But
I mean, I still don't agree completely with their argument over the
Well, why do you
mini
wanna
splits,
even get a price on mini splits if it's not?
well, they said they would do it just to go through the exercise because that was what the intent, when we started out that way, and then this got brought up during the walkthrough doing it, so.
In other words, give a proposal on mini splits or,
Changing that to a propane
Propane.
furnace.
but then you gotta figure out who's gonna be able to estimate the cost.
No, the difference in the,
The difference in cost between the mini split not working for heat and the winter time, we're gonna spend more money.
well, I think it'll be I think it'll be our research that we have to come up with and say, we don't want that system because it's not efficient.
Right.
You have more cooling, season than a heating season. I mean, heating season.
We have more of a
system.
cooling season than
Right.
heating.
I mean, heating than
more
cooling.
heating than cooling.
Right.
More heating than cooling.
But I
So-
still think there's some misinformation or misconception there. I mean, yes, the heating season's a little longer,
Mhm.
but it's not a heating, you know, they were saying that temperatures below 0, these have a hard time keeping up. And, you know,
32 degrees, I think, is it? It was 32 or 0?
I thought it was 0, or 11 degrees or something like that. That was,
Yeah, he said it'd be running all the time.
I know you calculate by 0 degrees.
Yeah, and
but they're saying that the
it goes full
Air-
electric.
the air conditioning season is shorter than the heating season,
Hmm.
but your heating season, a lot of that time is, you know, 40, 50 degree weather, not
Not zero.
So the season where you're at 0 is probably 3 to 4 weeks a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm just saying, I think that some of that's a little skewed,
yeah.
as in,
Well, yeah,
you know,
but you when you figure your BTU loss and stuff like that, that's why they always go at 0 degrees and not 40 degrees.
And the other thing that we talked about is
That sizes the unit.
right, because it needs to be able to heat,
Right.
because we do hit that temperature. I'm just
The
saying
unit
that
has to be big enough to.
the amount of times that we're at that temperature, and we're heating during the day when it's sunny out
Yeah,
and the sun's, you know, we got southern exposure here, so the sun's kind of beating on this building, and we're not heating once the sun goes down. So that's just
Right.
part of what I was saying, is that I think they're a little skewed on their data based on.
and I think they did say too, is that with the mini splits, you can't, it takes, if you shut them way down at night, so you turn it down to, 58 at night.
They don't modulate as well.
It would take 2 hours to run, constantly running to try to get it back
Oh,
up
yeah.
to. So he said then you're losing all your electric bills because it goes direct, all electric heat at that point.
Right.
So.
Well, you're
and-
best
That concept I can't.
best not to go more than 4 or 5 degrees if you're gonna shut down for at night. Keep it
Yeah.
4 or 5 degrees because otherwise you're gonna heat the whole building and
Right.
all the furniture, everything that's in it.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, I thought they had changed the whole mini split. That's why I thought they had really improved the heating side of it.
Yeah, that's the whole concept that I went with. Everyone was telling me that they're
Yeah.
great and they're the most efficient way to heat.
Yeah.
And,
So that's what I was under the impression. But now
Yeah.
I still understand that you still need to get, you need to have a letter from the building inspector stating that you can use these as a primary source of heat because they were only supposed to be used for a secondary source.
Oh,
of
you're
heat.
right. Yeah.
So
you're
that
right.
tells me
That's right.
they can't be very good if you
Right.
have to get
That's right too.
permission
You're
to-
right. They're cannot be used as a primary
Primary
source. You're right.
unless you get a letter. Of
unless you get a letter of approval.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's entailed in a letter? How much detail goes into a letter of approval? What are they looking at to determine whether they should or shouldn't
Yeah.
have it? And if it comes down to they're splitting hairs that much, it's probably not a good idea to have it.
Yeah.
If you could ask permission to have, whether it's a good idea to have this
Right.
for a heat system, it's probably not a good idea.
No, you're right.
That's just thinking,
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, you know, but,
But like you, I was under the assumption that everybody's saying these things are the greatest things ever, and they're the most efficient and everything else.
They are
Electric
efficient.
bill goes down, and
They're efficient for air conditioning.
yeah, well, that's what I'm
They don't
pointing
tell
out
you it's not efficient for
for the
heat,
for the heat,
because they're trying to sell you the unit.
yeah. So, I think it's leaning more towards the propane furnace, and then just tying it into the existing ductwork. And then Austin can, that's that they can put the.
I just like the idea of oil, but in this case here, we gotta put it over here. It's not a very good idea. I mean, every time you go in there, it stinks of oil. So
Yeah.
propane, but oil is more efficient, I think.
oh, oil's the
Okay.
best way to heat.
Yeah,
It's just our situation.
because you
is the
got,
best
people don't
application.
realize a gallon of propane is only 92,000 BTUs, and a gallon of oil is 140,000 BTUs.
So you
So
gotta
there's a
you figure out
big
the
difference.
price,
There's
right?
50,000 BTUs difference.
And
You
the-
figure the cost in propane is as much as oil
Yeah,
And the
in the long run.
propane's volatile. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Price
Oil-
wise,
Oil can be too.
it can be.
But-
Yeah, oil can be too, right?
But I guess the other thing too, which we discussed at the meeting, is that the town signed into this Green Communities Act. So we were trying to help along with the,
Mm-hmm.
with the
Carbon footprint.
carbon footprint being compliant with the gas. It's a
Yeah.
renewable, considered a renewable energy. And
No matter what we put in, it's gonna be a lot more efficient than
Yeah.
what we have
Yeah.
here.
yeah,
And if we went with a propane unit,
Now, we have
Is it just-
propane in the garage though, don't we?
no,
It's oil in there too?
it's also a lot less maintenance too with the propane versus the.
We don't need anything in the garage, do we? I mean, as far as, do we
Yeah,
have
water
to
line,
change
yeah.
that, or that's a separate system?
that's its own.
That's its own system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
main
suppose
thing
if
is
that
this-
ever goes down, we could look at going with a propane if we're already gonna have propane here, but
yeah, just one of those hanging.
a Modine or something. Yeah.
Propane, they work nice.
So propane furnace, is it just a matter of changing the orifice
For the city,
if you go to natural gas?
yeah. There's an orifice.
Oh,
you can
yeah,
change.
we'll never see natural gas here.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you just could change an orifice.
Yeah, it's a matter, yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah.
To convert them, you pull out the pressure regulator. You pull the guts out of that to convert it to propane, and then change the orifices. I mean, you can do the same thing, put it back together the same way.
I just wanted to make sure that's an option, because if we can switch to natural gas here instead of all these
Oh, yeah,
propane tanks,
absolutely.
I think that would be huge.
Substantial savings. And then, so the only thing is, did you contact Peak?
I did not contact them yet. I was 1,000 different directions yesterday and today.
Because he's working on the mini split quote.
Yeah.
So we just have to give him the opportunity to bid on the propane as well.
Peak?
Yeah, because he was one of the bidders as well. So,
I will
Oh, he's
take
figuring
it
out a mini split.
yeah, because we originally at first started talking about mini splits and then until yesterday. Well, we still talked to him yesterday, but maybe
It just
go-
turned into a big cluster.
Yeah, turned into a different direction. Which I'm kind of glad. I mean, I'd rather do something.
I agree.
You know, if somebody knows something that's not going to work too well, I'm glad that they said they don't think it's going to work too well.
Right.
Not put it in just to get the buck and hit the road and
Hey,
you're going to deal with
sorry about that.
it. Yeah, that's what you wanted.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. So, I think that's all I have. We touched on that. I'll try anything I can think of. Is that it?
Make a motion, close me.
Anything else, Bob?
No.
Good. Make a motion to adjourn at 8:47.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.